Hello again, Delmon Metha, back with another video about me going through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. If you're tuning in to this for the first time for some reason, I had an account on fanfiction.net, started in about 2006, and I have had over like 1,200 stories on my favorites list, so I'm rereading them to see if they still deserve to stay on my list or not, going by when they were first published. I've just recently reached 2010, so still going to be a while to go. But let's hop in with the first one being Do Pickup Lines Work by Takeshi Kovacs 987. And this is it's basically a fic where Shinji gains some emotional growth through going out drinking one night, and it sounds kind of worse than it is. Like, it's not like he binge drinks and then turns into like this very different person. It's just he goes out one night to get drunk with his friends and like says a pickup line to a waitress, but then gains a bit of confidence from it after it doesn't work out that way. But it's interesting to see like all the main characters, Shinji, Asuka, Rei, even Gendo, grow as people, and you see them develop even though the story isn't incomplete. I mean, I wish it had continued, but the emotional beats here are pretty damn interesting and meaty enough that any reader who wants some good psychodrama will find what they need here. You know, there's a few bits of meta humor that feel a little out of place, but it's really, really small, so you can ignore it. One of the other issues is that there's a lot of flashbacks that keep like coming in and out. I think there might even have been a flashback in a flashback, which, yeah, those are just super irritating. But yeah, I don't think those are huge knocks against it, and the character drama I think is really, really good and more than enough to make this piece worth reading, and it's definitely going to stay on my list. Moving on now, we have Andrew Joshua Talon's Crumpled Horned Plot Bunnies. And this is, again, a one-shot collection, you know, a repository for him to drop his half-baked ideas, shots that never really went anywhere. And these are all based on the Harry Potter universe. And this is one of those where I didn't really care for most of these. You know, there's only one that I really enjoyed, and while it did get 3 parts, so I did like it a lot, which was involving like Ron Weasley becoming interested in directing and basically going through canon as a film director and directing everything. I thought that was really funny, but that was about it. And the rest of these I just didn't find engaging at all. Yeah, so simple enough. Like, look at it, give it a look for the Ron as a director bits, but otherwise you can skip it, and this is not going to stay on my list. This is going to fall off my list. Let me put it that way. Now, after that, we have a full story by Andrew Joshua Talon that's completed called That Boy Is Trouble, which is, again, Harry Potter. And basically this is a story about the summer after the Triwizard Tournament, where Harry just becomes the known as the bad boy of the town, and everybody just wants to sleep with him. So it's really fun. It's just, you know, just a lot of like sexual jokes and sexual humor. No actual smut. It's all just implied. Like, we just get like to see like the start of women jumping his bones and implications of what he did, but nothing actually happens on screen. I just really enjoyed this. It was really fun, and just, if you want some sexual humor, I think anybody will like this a lot, and it's gonna stay on my list. Alright, the next story is going back to Evangelion with Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the End to Mine by Rorschach's Blot. So the title is a reference to movie by oh my god, I can't remember. Oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. It's not super important who the movie. Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick, and that movie is actually my favorite movie of all time. Not that it has much to do with this story, but that's just a nice little reference that made me notice it in the first place. So this story is basically about Shinji being forced into a time loop by like a god after he dies, and having to beat the angel until he gets it right, and eventually he just stops giving a shit, and once he does, all the wheels come off, and this is where true drunken Shinji's power comes in. This is the drunken Shinji of legend, and I love it so much. This author is a guy I love a lot, and drunken Shinji is when it's done right, is super fun to read. I love it so much, and even seeing Ray get some bleed over effects from the time loops and gaining a personality is super fun. Like, if you want some Eva humor, this is pay dirt, and it's awesome, and it's gonna stay on my list. Alright, now I think the last three are all Harry Potter fics. So first one is Rocking the Boat by DerLaCroix. And this is again just a independent Harry fic. Harry decides to go it alone, break off the shackles of Dumbledore, and become his own side. And he becomes the owner of a pirate island afterwards as well. Like, this story is like, it's a long story. It's complete. 250,000 words ish. And it's just one that never really interested me. It's again, like, it's one of the many stories that on reread, I just don't care about what's happening. There's no huge moment. It's not super funny. Like, it's not that. There's no hook or huge moment to pull me in and make me interested. Lots of stuff happens. We have like manipulative Dumbledore, supercharged Harry, whose wand becomes a gun, and stuff like that, and things develop and people plots move around, but I just never cared. That's the whole thing. It's like, I don't think it's a bad story. Maybe others who would read it, maybe you'll find something that will grip you and interest you, but for me, I just didn't find it compelling enough to keep it on my list, and I'm kicking it off. Next is Doctor What? New Timelines by TARDIS is the Only Way to Travel. And this is a sequel to Doctor What, which was on my list, and I had taken off because I felt, while it was a little entertaining, it wasn't funny enough on its own. And this is the same situation, where this is like, it sets up that this is going to be many, many stories and like a collection of his journeys, but there's only one chapter that he ever wrote out, and it's again where it's like, it's funny, and this one's a lot. Whereas the first one was just one whole like story essentially, or like one episode. Here it's just a bunch of snippets from various times that they jump to, and again it's entertaining, but it's not funny enough on its own. If they had been, as I probably said with the last video, if they had been combined and like maybe one more chapter was added at least, I probably would have kept it on my list. But as it is by itself, it's not super entertaining by itself to stand amongst the other things that I keep on my list just for a one-shot humor value, in my opinion. If you want to see Harry act as Doctor Who after he's been as like the Doctor, as he's been kicked out of his own timeline with Ginny as his companion and stuff, give this and its original thing a look, like one after another. Don't separate them, or don't only look at one. But I really just don't think that this is good enough on its own to stay on my list, so it's gonna fall off. And finally for this video, we have A Time for Changeling by Blood Page Alchemist. And so this story starts off again summer after the Triwizard Tournament, where Harry like discovers that the cousin he's been living with this whole time isn't actually his cousin, and it's a changeling. And so he runs away, and then events eventually keep piling up where he ends up helping the minister fight Voldemort until Grindelwald comes to save the day. So it's... stuff happens. This is another one like Rocking the Boat where I just never super got sucked in. There's interesting things here, like Harry striking up a pen pal relationship with Grindelwald. A bunch of people, like there's a bunch of OCs in this thing, which normally I don't really like. Well, I know that that's like the bane of most writers, where like OCs are terrible and stuff like that. I've seen stories that are super great with OCs. This one is not that bad. The OCs are not super annoying or anything, and no one's like a big like Mary Sue. But the main thing that sticks it out is that it doesn't treat the Marauders as like gods, or not gods, but like holier than thou. You know, like 90%. It seems like 99% of stories that I read, maybe just because I like stories with Harry as the main character, treat James and the Marauders as everything's like, oh, they were just like, even if they do get on his case a little, he's still essentially like a patron saint, or like he did no wrong. And here we see like people who are just like, you know, like, yeah, we weren't friends with the Marauders, so when they were being protected and stuff, we got shit on and we got shafted and we hated them, and that's fine. And it even leads to Snape earning some sympathy and from both Harry and myself when you see how he connects. Aside from that, there's a whole bunch of moving parts. Like I said, Harry becomes like friends with the minister, not who you're thinking of, and leads to his thing. When he eventually does find Dudley, the real Dudley, and Dudley's a werewolf, and then at the age of 14, Dudley just decides, oh, I got be by myself, fine, I'll just kill Fenrir Greyback, who's supposed to be, you know, super scary, legendary werewolf like thing, essentially, and just kills him, even though he's decades older than him. It's like, that's a little, like, okay, they just needed that to happen, but the rest of the story actually feels a little bit more logical and, like, progresses at something that you can actually understand. And I'm saying all this, but I never actually got sucked in. I was more just reading it because I was like, okay, I gotta read this for this video and stuff like that. But I never really cared, which is, I wanted to. It's weird. Like, it's kind of actually different from Rocking the Boat. Rocking the Boat, I actually didn't care that much about the story or even trying to get into the story. And here I was like, there's some interesting bits here that I really wish I cared more about. So I think this, like, I never got sucked into it, but with I feel like this is actually a better story, or has better ideas than Rocking the Boat. And so I might not have gotten sucked into it, but I feel like other people might, and they'd have a better time with this than they would Rocking the Boat. So this one's going to fall off my list, but I do encourage you to at least give it a try, maybe check out the first few chapters if you want to see a more... It's a bit of like Harry delving more into politics and stuff from a slight, like second degree politics. He doesn't become the leader himself fully, but he's like nudging, he's dipping his toe in there, and it's interesting in ways. So there you have it. And that is it for this video. 394 stories have been read. 200 have stayed on my list, so it's still just on the line of half and half. Oh man, almost half, but we'll see when it tips over to the other side. If you are interested in any of these stories, the links are in the description below. If you ever want to rewatch all this, the playlist is in there if you want to listen to it, or if you want to read this instead of listening to me drone on randomly, and it's not like 100% written down version. There are slight differences, but I do have a forum where I'm also posting all these as the videos. If you like this video or like anything I've said about it, please leave a like or comment if you think my review is bullshit or what I'm saying is dumb. If you want to keep up to date when I release these next videos, please subscribe. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.